What is going on? It's March 13th, 2025, and we need to talk about this severe weather outbreak this weekend, starting in the Central Plains and making its way out east. Right now, this is looking like it will be the most severe weather event that we've seen so far in 2025. And we have a lot of meteorologists and weather enthusiasts talking about the potential for even a high risk on Saturday. And Reed Timmer, who's obviously a great meteorologist, and a lot of people consider him one of the best, if not the best, tornado chaser there is, has stated that he thinks 50 to 100 tornadoes are possible during the Saturday outbreak. Again, we need to pay attention Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, though. This is a multi-day severe weather outbreak. What we're looking at right here is our day 2 4-panel outlook. So this is going to be Friday afternoon into Saturday morning. A few very serious things to note on here. We have a moderate categorical outlook through portions of Missouri, Illinois, even Kentucky, Tennessee, Arkansas, and Iowa. A 10% hatch risk of tornadoes stretches through portions of Illinois, Missouri, Arkansas, Mississippi, Alabama, Tennessee, Kentucky, and even southwestern Indiana. What does a hatch risk means? Well, it means you could see EF2 plus tornadoes, and these could be long track, meaning long lasting tornadoes. This is a very serious threat. People need to have a way to get weather alerts throughout this entire weekend. We also have a 30% hatch risk for hail. Now, you could see gorilla hail with this type of system Friday into Saturday morning. Gorilla hail is hail that is 2 inches in diameter or more. Obviously, that can cause some damage and destruction. And then we have a 45% hatch risk for wind as well into portions of Illinois, Missouri, Kentucky, Tennessee, and Iowa. This means we could get hurricane force wind gusts and potentially 60+ mile per hour sustained winds in some areas, which could be associated with the squall line or even a derecho type of event. Now, if that wasn't bad enough, getting into Saturday, this is where we think things could actually intensify. We don't have the 4-panel outlook yet, but I'll break down a little bit of what you could expect. There are some meteorologists thinking we could get up to a high risk down here. I don't know if we're going to see that, but again, you have Reed Timmer saying 50 to 100 tornadoes. That would be classified as a tornado outbreak. And through a lot of these areas down here, we're going to see a lot of the same. We're going to see a very high risk for wind, hail. I do think we'll likely see that moderate hatch tornado risk as well. And a big issue with this is as these storms begin to fire up into southeastern Louisiana and southwestern Mississippi, it's going to be very, very early in the morning, and a lot of people are still going to be sleeping. Again, have a way to get weather alerts and have a way for them to wake you up, I would say, if you're down here. Specifically, you want to have a way to get tornado warnings when there's a tornado warning in your area, because if this does turn out to be a tornado outbreak like some people are thinking, there could be a lot of tornadoes. And again, I don't want to scare anyone. Even when there's a tornado outbreak, you have to remember how much land there is. 99.9999% of people will be fine, even if they're in the way of this tornado outbreak. But again, you don't want to take any chances. And then as we push into Sunday, a lot of the severe weather will make its way out towards the East Coast. We're not expecting any of these super intense tornadoes, although it's not an impossibility. Again, have a way to get weather alerts. You'll probably see some QLCS tornadoes possible, meaning EF0, EF1, which can still cause some damage. You could see some strong hail and some strong winds associated with the squall line as well. And we may even see an enhanced risk get placed out here once we get into that 3-day time frame tomorrow. So what is causing the severe weather outbreak? Well, I want to get into that. You can see out west, we currently have a neutrally tilted trough. That just means we have our jet stream digging down vertically and not tilting either to the left or right or to the west or east. But as we move forward in time, you'll see this trough begin to tilt off to the east. This is what we call a negatively tilted trough, and this is what has the potential to produce severe weather and blizzard-like conditions, both of which we are expecting over the next few days. And there's a multitude of reasons of why. One of the main reasons is as this trough begins to tilt, there will typically be a buildup of energy out ahead of it, and we can get what's called a trough ejection. As these storms begin to negatively tilt over this region of the country, they start to pull a lot of heat and moisture off the Gulf, especially in spring. This heat and moisture is just energy for severe thunderstorms. Another factor is we have westerly winds, meaning winds moving from the west, and then as the storm begins to tilt, it starts to pull in southerly winds. This creates something that we call wind shear, meaning winds moving in opposite directions interacting with each other, and winds moving in opposite directions at different speeds as well. This can create spinning columns of air at the surface. Now, for a tornado to form, you need something to tilt up these columns of air at the surface vertically, and that is where CAPE comes in. CAPE, or convective available potential energy, is when you have a parcel of air that is much more warm and moist than the atmosphere around it, allowing that parcel of air and moisture to quickly rise and expand in the atmosphere, releasing latent heat and fueling these thunderstorms. CAPE is typically created when you have opposite air boundaries interacting with each other, which is what happens when you have these negatively tilted troughs. We have dry and cool air being pulled in from the north and west, and then you have moist and warm air being pulled in out ahead of this trough. And this interaction, again, allows for that parcel of air out ahead of the trough to be more warm and moist, and the cooler or drier air that's being pulled in on the other side of this trough. And with the combination of this CAPE and wind shear, this is when meteorologists start calling for the potential for some very severe weather, and in this case, when it looks this dangerous, the potential for a tornado outbreak. This happens a lot more in spring because you have a lot more of that warm and cold air interaction. When you're in deep summer, everything's pretty warm. When you're in deep winter, a lot of things are very very cold. But when you have these transitioning seasons, this is what can spark big severe weather outbreaks. So let's take a look at the future radar and kind of talk about the timing of these events. As we get into Friday afternoon, our main low pressure system will begin to make its way into the Great Plains as a potentially 975 millibar low. The deeper the low, the more lift you have at the center of this system. And again, that allows moisture and heat to rise and create these thunderstorms around the center. So we can see right around Friday afternoon, some thunderstorms beginning to fire up into portions of Arkansas, eastern Kansas, Missouri, and Iowa. And then as we push farther off into the day, these are going to start to make their way east, pushing into Kentucky, Tennessee, Indiana, and then a little bit farther out east. That's going to be our Friday event. But what happens is after this low pressure system moves its way off into the northeast, we get another surface low down there in the deep south that wants to form, and here it is. This is a little bit dangerous because this is going to be happening in the very early hours of Saturday, meaning especially if you're in Baton Rouge, anywhere in really eastern, southeastern Louisiana, again, have a way to get weather alerts very early in the morning starting on Saturday. It could even be very late on Friday. These storms do speed up and slow down quite a bit as they get closer. And by the way, what's also happening Friday into Saturday is portions of northeastern Nebraska, eastern South Dakota, eastern North Dakota, and then portions of central to northern Minnesota are going to be dealing with some strong winds and heavy snow, and I would not be surprised to see some blizzard watches and warnings put out between Friday and Saturday. And then as we push into Sunday, all of this severe weather is going to push off to the east. Again, we could get some QLCS tornadoes. QLCS stands for quasi-linear convective system, and that is basically a squall line. And when you get squall line tornadoes, we call them QLCS tornadoes. They're typically EF0 to EF1, meaning they're not going to do as much damage as an EF2 plus, meaning tearing apart houses and stuff, but they can still obviously do a decent amount of damage, knock some trees down, damage roofs and stuff like that. So we really need to be paying attention. And sometimes these events are under forecast, so it's not impossible to get an EF2 plus tornado out here. Again, better to be safe than sorry. Have weather alerts on. I've been feeling a little bit under the weather lately, no pun intended, but I do plan on live streaming this severe weather a little bit on Saturday. I'm a part of Mesomat's team, MESOMATT. He's going to be live streaming Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. I mean, he pretty much covers these entire severe weather outbreaks, so he's someone great to watch. Again, that's MESOMATT. He knows what he's talking about. A lot of times he calls these tornado warnings before they're even put on the map. I will be releasing another video tomorrow, and again, I'm going to be live streaming as much as I can this weekend. I'm starting to feel better, so hopefully I'll be able to be on and talking with Matt and you guys about the severe weather as it's ongoing. I appreciate you guys watching this video. If you like this type of content, feel free to throw me a follow or sub. I make posts like this every single day, and I stream every single night as long as I'm feeling good. I'll see you in the next video.